And with me right now is our very special guest, a good friend of mine, and someone I like to call my own brother, the very one and only Lorulian historian LH. What's up, my dude?
Hey.
So I
Thank you for having me.
No, well, very much welcome to have you, my guy, on this amazing collab that we got going on today. I obviously got a couple of questions pertaining this theory that, we've been talking about for a while, and it's been something you and I and the circles have been talking about for even longer than this game's been out, to be honest. So the big thing is, when it comes to the Zonai, and I would ask you like I would ask Zoey, who's our good friend, Magic Pixie Dream Shrine, and our good friend Dan Man, anything that comes to like Zelda knowledge, and like when it comes to translations and stuff, like I'm obviously going to ask you guys because like I don't know Japanese and I can't really afford the books. So based on my knowledge from the games, I want to ask you, when it comes to the Zonai, who would you classify those people as? Like hardcore?
Okay, so the Zonai, the mysterious race, they are the closest race to the gods, and they are the ones who worship the goddess Hylia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that sounds familiar, there's a reason. If you think back to Skyward Sword, the earliest tale in the chronology, the chosen people of Hylia, the humans, all have long ears. They live up in the sky. Zelda, the reincarnated mortal form of the goddess Hylia, is born among them. They're the sky people. They're the humans. Skyloftians, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
There's a few different names for them. Those people are the root stock that give rise to the Zonai,
Yeah.
and to the Hylians. The Hylians, of course, being the descendants of the mortal incarnation of Hylia, so Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the rest who stayed up in the sky, because they didn't all come down, continued to prosper and develop and grow up there, isolated. And the result of that is what we now see as Rauru and Minoru and the Zonai as a whole.
So to quote, or to paraphrase basically, Ganondorf Dragmire from Tears of the Kingdom in the ancient past, when your Zonai descendants God, I fucked it up. When your Zonai descendants came upon this land, they seem almost to be gods. So, quite literally in the literal sense of people who were already on the surface because of the end of Skyward Sword, whether they lost connection through the passage of time or they don't know them because it's literally the passage of time and hearsay, literally they're seeing these people descending from the Sky Islands being like, oh my goodness, the legends are true, right?
Yep, that's exactly it. They're seeing these people who, based on the information we can gather, there's a long time between the end of Skyward Sword and the founding of the Kingdom of Hyrule. It was not like an instantaneous thing. It took hundreds, if not thousands of years before that came to pass.
Right.
And a lot of that falls into something that is known in various forms of text, either in-game or in, say, the Hyrule Historia and the Zelda Encyclopedia, as the era of chaos.
Yes.
It is where the surface was in turmoil constantly. So there's a lot of lost history, there's a lot of bloodshed, there's a lot of conflict. The Sacred Realm gets sealed, and along with that, we know the story about the interlopers. All of that happens, and then the kingdom is founded.
Yes.
So in that time period where all of this conflict and all of these crazy things are happening, and life is very hard, and there's a lot of loss. The Zonai start coming down from the sky and establishing order.
Mm-hmm.
They create the temples. Oh, we call them temples. The Hylians call them temples, but they were really just facilities to make life easier on the surface, right? They manipulate the weather or other conditions to make life more tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
So they build these things, and they have this amazing technology that they've developed, and because of that, the people, the Hylians living on the surface, living through these dangerous times and seeing this amazing technology, just assume that they are gods or godlike beings, and so that they treat them that way.
And that's another thing I wanted to get into with you, because when it comes to the ancient eras and so on and so forth, like pre-split, as us old schools used to call it, when it comes to the ancient pre-split, from creation or the sealing of Null to, at this point now, Age of Imprisonment being the first like actual kingdom, this has always been like the part of Zelda history and mythos that I've always like just done deep dives for weeks, maybe even months, whether speculations and theories and so on and so forth. It is probably one of our biggest spans that literally everything could be connected to, right? So one of these things, and I have it pictured for you as well, one of the biggest things I have is called the Big Hiding, right? The Big Hiding was in the ancient past, in the era of the goddess Hylia walking the earth, and at that same time, the Demon King, or as we could possibly call him, a Echo of Null, possibly, springs forth and rains hell. So we know that a outcropping of land goes to the sky, that becomes Skyloft, and the surrounding chunks that go with it become the Sky Islands. We already know that. And the humans that get saved turn into the Skyloftians and the Sky Humans, as we just established. Then there's a portion of them who are just slain or absorbed into the demon's army. But
yeah,
I personally believe this last part, and I've brought it up to you. Not all humans were saved or killed, though. I still say that there was a faction that went into hiding. We could possibly believe this because the Sheikah still are alive during the time of Skyward Sword, which we are having reason to believe they went into hiding during the time of demise. So in this far-off, primordial ancient past. If this is the case, we have Sheikah hiding underground with humans and possibly even the Gorons and other races that are not on the surface. If this is also the case, we have the Gorons going up to the surface and looking at ruins and not really becoming merchants, but going across the land and doing investigations. We have at least one Sheikah watching over the land, but it seems like she would have had to be taught the things she knows now. And in the ways of foresight, which would have to mean she has some kind of outside connection, which makes me believe that she is one Sheikah on the surface while the rest of them are in hiding, possibly underground or even in the sky, which the sky portion turns into, the monk and the warriors, which we'll get into in a little while. But when it comes to this ancient past, I personally believe that when Demise started raining hell, not every single Sheikah and human were either saved or made it out alive. I personally believe that, like, Peter, the Bamboo Island guy.
Peter, yes.
He's a Sheikah warrior, but Gondo, the guy who has Scrapper, he's a Sheikah monk via blood descendants.
Interesting.
The
Very interesting.
the warriors would be more inclined to be using the weapons more loud, more using like heavy weaponry, so like Edge of Duality or the Eightfold Blade or the Shield of the Mind's Eye, or maybe even an early version of the Demon Carver or Vicious Sickle. But this would be back in the time when red and blue were known as one thing, purple. So the first thing I want to ask is, would this be possible that the Sheikah had a group of humans go into hiding underground, and that we might also have a couple of Sheikah in the sky during the time of Skyward Sword in the Great Hiding?
I would say it's possible, just based on the fact that the Sheikah, as a group, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are servants of the goddess, so they could assume different roles as long as they're fulfilling their purpose.
Right.
And they were considered humans, just like the humans of Skyloft, in the context of Skyward Sword. There was no distinction between the two. It's more of a cultural thing.
Right.
And that still holds true even into today. If you look at Tears of the Kingdom in particular, if you look at, say, Pura or Robbie's or even Impa's character profile,
Yep.
it says Hylian bracket Sheikah.
Yes, and
Because they're considered one group.
yes,
They're one race.
and that is exactly what I wanted to get into. It's one people's, but in real life examples and in video game examples as well, we can take into effect that a tribe can be many races or many peoples that make one banner. So, like the Interlopers is the first one that comes to mind, but I'll get to that in a little while. So going back to this, like, yes, it's all one people, but they'd probably have like two different class systems, like warrior and like, let's say artificers or tech advisors, something like that, that would be loosely associated with monks. So the reason why I get into this is, let's say after the Great Hiding is over, Skyward Sword is done, some of the humans come back to the surface, and now Impa is gone. Immediately the Sheikah are like, uh-oh, we have a great disturbance in the Triforce, you know? And it immediately makes me think of, well, how would they immediately know? Because unless someone is watching Impa that whole time, they would need some kind of underground connection, right? So, before I get to that, I'll show you the picture that's behind us real quick. The picture behind us is of the people from creation to basically now, right? And it's going based on what we just talked about a little bit ago. We got the Air of Creation, Sealing and Null, and in that purple stretch, all the way to here, we got the humans under Hylia. So, humans, portion saved via Hylia, Skyloft, and Isles, portion of these return to the surface, becoming Hylians and possibly Gerudo, which is the white line. So, this would be like what we know before today, right? And the humans and everybody after Skyward, etc. However, a other portion stays in the sky, evolving into the Zonai, the Wind Tribe, and even the Oko, because the sky is huge.
It is indeed.
So, like, if you were to spread out, and whether it's the ecosystem, or even the atmosphere, or just many different factors, even magic, we could see them evolving into them. And this is, again, after Skyward Sword, after the Great Hiding, but way before, like, the Interloper War. So, we'd also have this third faction, which is blue, portion that went into hiding underground, becomes the Sheikah and possibly also Gerudo. This was made before contacting you, but I wouldn't say becomes the Sheikah, but they were already the Sheikah at that point.
Yeah.
So we would also go into this now of after this time of Skyward Sword. Impa is now dead. Some of these humans are coming back to the surface, like Zelda's blood family of Headmaster Gaepora and so on. You got Groose, who's presumably the beginning of the entire Gerudo people that we know as of now, not counting the ancient Gerudo people that literally are connected to Groose somehow because of blood. We now have this span of, oh my god, Impa is dead. And we have these humans now on the surface who are like, well, we didn't know her that well except these people. So I want to bring up to you now, when it comes to the Shadow Clan and their ways of espionage and spying and information and so on and so forth, could it be possible that the Gossip Stones might be connected to the Bargainers? And the reason I ask this is the 7 Bargainers are connected to 7 very special goddess statues. The Forgotten Temple, which is the oldest one. We've got the one over the old Sacred Grounds, which is now the Lookout Landing. We've got one on the Great Plateau's Temple of Time, which is the modern Temple of Time, built by Hylians, but we got the old Temple of Time in the sky that was the original Temple of Time from Rauru. And then we've got the last, the last 3, which is the 3 Springs. And it brings into mind that these Bargainers in the Great Hiding era were possibly built as an effigy or even a different form of Hylia. Kind of like how, I don't remember if it was you or if it was someone else who brought it up in the past, but someone said in the past that the goddess of sand in the Desert Colossus might actually be a different visage of Hylia. You know?
Interesting.
Like how, if you were to describe, let's say, like a Norse god, a Christian god, or something like that, to someone from a different part of the world. And then you were saying, can you draw up or give me a visual of that? And then they give you a visual that is completely different to your own, but it's based on the same information you both share. So, to go a little bit more into this is, when Hylia saves the humans, sends them up to the sky to become Skylothians, we have the humans that are dead or put into the army, and then we have the humans underground and hiding with the Sheikah. The Sheikah still need to see what's going on with the surface. Gossip Stones.
And Gossip Stones, definitely, yeah, because they are used for spying.
Mm-hmm. And what would happen if you hit a Gossip Stone with a bomb?
They rocket.
Uh-huh. You could possibly send information from the underground survivors to the sky survivors one way or another.
Interesting. Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, because they just go they rocket right up into the sky, and you lose sight of them.
And now the other part I want to link up to this, no pun intended. If these Bargainer statues are just other forms of the goddess Hylia, wouldn't it make sense in a Occam's razor, or to quote the Daily Show, Occam's giant effing machete, to just say, yeah, like, if the Bargainer statues are effigies of Hylia, it's because the Sheikah know Hylia gave up her divinity. She's now gone. But she could still contact her followers, whether it's the goddess statues or the 7 Bargainers underneath these 7 specific goddess statues in particular.
Maybe. Although I see them more like the way the Sheikah and the Hylians are themselves. You know, the Sheikah are considered the shadows
Right.
of the Hylians, right?
Right.
So it's it's like the interlopers, the two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the goddess of life, and then you have the bargainer, who's more like the god of death.
Bingo.
He deals with the afterlife, right?
Bingo, and that's the key right there. Not only like how our good friend Zoey said that the eye lines up directly with the biggest circle in the middle of the bargainer's forehead, but you also got to take in this aspect of light and dark are two sides of one coin, but at the very middle of that coin is shadow. And the Sheikah are the guardians of what element at that point? But now I'll make it even more in depth. If we now have this idea that the gossip stones are connected to the bargainers are connected to the goddess Hylia statues, that they all work in tandem. We're missing one key element. We already have time and wisdom. We already have, technically power and emotion through this too. What we're last missing is spirit. And it's probably a no-brainer, but is spirit very abundant with these two?
I mean, yeah.
Well,
I mean, the bargainers deal with the souls of the dead, so there's a ton of spirit right there. And then the goddess statues, they basically bargain, taking the life force from monks or the light crystals from the other shrines, the Zonai shrines,
mm-hmm.
and convert it into force. They convert it into life power.
Yep.
Which is completely a spiritual thing.
And that's exactly it. It's like now you have to tie into this, which is really, really weird, but amazing. If in Tears of the Kingdom, for instance, you by chance sell one of your items, one of the really, really precious items, as we call them, the weapons or the armor of eras past, you can get them back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you get those items back?
You can buy a few of them from the bargainer, or most of them actually from the bargainer, by selling him souls. Pose.
If I'm not wrong, I think you can actually get all of them?
Oh, I guess I haven't tried selling all of my stuff, so I don't have them there.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't even think you have to sell them. I think you could just check. I'll have to double check. But my whole thing with this is, it's really odd that these bargainer statues that siphon life for magical and time-blessed gifts, just like how the goddess Hylia does essentially the same thing. The bargainers will gift you like the goddess White Sword or the entire set of Twilight, basically gifts from among time, from the shadow god underneath the feet of the goddess of light and time herself. And it really does make me think, like, as you said, it could be a other god running in tandem. What if this other god, in two aspects I'm going to give you. One, always existed, meaning that this god was not a creation of Null, but this god was birthed at the same time of Hylia. So, hypothetically speaking, when the world is created and Null is sealed, Hylia is born of light and time. The bargainer is born of shadow and afterlife. But at that same retrospect, evil, demons, and death is born through demise. The trio born in tandem. Possibly only because all three would reflect Hylia with wisdom. You'd have the bargainers who would technically be spirit. And then you got demise who's power, right? Even though they never had those virtues.
And there's something else to this as well. You brought up earlier, you're not as familiar with Japanese.
Yes, that I have to admit, sadly.
I have been doing a lot of reading. Obviously, there's a lot of Shinto elements in the series, and in particular, especially since Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword has been rife with them, but the Japanese creation mythos and the various kami and spirits and gods who are responsible for various things in their culture, in their myths. There's a particular trio who were born from Izanagi. I believe it's Izanagi, the male.
Yes.
The male god who created Japan. After he left the underworld trying to find his wife. He underwent ritual purification and birthed 3 gods.
Mm-hmm.
Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Sukuno. I believe it's Sukunoyomi. Amaterasu is basically
the sun. I know
one
that
to one with the goddess Hylia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she's almost one to one with Hylia. So the other 2, you could have. You can actually find some decent parallels between them and, say, Demise or with the Bargainer.
Right.
So you were saying that there's the balance, and that these gods could have been born at the same time as Hylia. It very likely that is the case, because that is the case in like the inspiration, right?
Right. That's what's nuts too, because whenever you get someone who's new to the Zelda mythos and they come to ask you like question, it's happened to me, and I know it's happened to you. Someone would be like, does Nintendo and Zelda team actually use like other media in real world for like influence of their games? And we just kind of sit here and be like, yeah, all the time, bud.
Yeah.
It's
like everything comes from something, right?
Yeah.
Not something does not come from nothing.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood right there.
Yeah. Everything has an origin. It has an inspiration. It has an initial spark, right? That birthed it. It doesn't just pop out of nowhere.
So okay, this is pretty awesome, because essentially I'm just gonna have to admit this now. 100%, this is definitely going to be put into the theory video, but I'm probably also going to have to do a separate upload at that point. Be like, a quick one-on-one of the ancient eras with LH, something like that. But so now here, okay, so we already got the Great Hiding, we already got Skyward Sword's ending. Perfect. And we already got the connection of the Bargainers, Spirits, with Sheikah, with Hylia. All of this stuff, the Zonai coming down and looking like gods to the people on the surface. We've covered all of that so far. Now here's the chunk I like to cover. This is the chunk after Skyward Sword, and this happens all the way to basically our upcoming game, Age of Imprisonment, with the info that we know so far. And this is the one where, just like how we just did with the Great Hiding and the Era of Hylia, etc., this is, again, it doesn't have a lot of information on it, but based on us old schoolers, we've played these games, and we're like, well, shit, we could probably piece this together, can't we? Yeah, just give me a turkey sandwich and a soda, and I'll be good by noon. So I'm not saying 100% we're going to actually, be here solving this, but to give a good, input, right? So let's go based on what we know. Impa's dead. bargainers could very well be connected to the gossip statues, Jesus, the gossip stones. And these gossip stones could literally be the eyes and ways of hearing and seeing and knowing information of what goes on the surface while you're still in hiding underground. If this is the case, and let's also say that Peter, and I could honestly be getting his name wrong, it could be Pieter, and Gondo on sky level, let's say they're also descendants of Sheikah because of the sword and the tech, which I know sounds kind of weak, but that there's something about Peter, about him being like honestly a Sheikah somehow. Humans now live on the surface, and they're encountered by the Sheikah who want to know what happens to Impa. They say she passes of old age. Fine. And if these Sheikah now get in touch with these humans on the surface, they could be like, well, we can teach you what we know. This kid went ahead and saved all of us. Let's go on and make settlements and civilization, not a kingdom, because they did not make that kingdom.
No, they definitely did not make a kingdom.
They were just settlers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like real life early civilization before cities and actual hardcore nations and borders and maps and stuff. You just had, tribes of different peoples together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's something that's been established at the very least. It's been established in the canon since 2011.
Exactly. Like that's been a no-brainer right there. And that's the thing of like, if you follow that mindset of, okay, well, you have different people, and then through evolution you got them turning from humans to continuing to be humans, some of them being Hylian, some of them being Gerudo, obviously splitting up to the different areas on the map. And then comes the introduction of the discovery of regular people discovering the robots and the space-time stones, or the time shift stones. The reason I bring this up is that may be overlooked a lot, but it's something I always saw as crucial. The hero, Impa, and Zelda were the only ones that knew about the robots other than the Gorons and Sheikah Underground and so on and so forth, until the humans came back home. And at that point, they started wondering, wow, look at these robots. I wonder who made them. Introduced the Sheikah, who are like, we made these robots like an ungodly, unknown time ago in ye old yester past, right? Through this, they'd be able to share that information with anybody who's still in the sky if they still keep connections. And the couple of reasons why I say that in these early days, the humans of the surface and the sky may have kept communication going before they ultimately stopped talking to each other is because of Loftwings and because of Headmaster Gapora. Headmaster Gapora is not immortal, and he would likely die within 20 years after the end of Skyward Sword. And
most likely,
the Loftwings, I can only imagine, would suffer a similar fate.
Loftwings are an interesting case because we know from a lore standpoint that they are linked, like physically, spiritually, to their humans.
Yes.
Each person that is born in Skyloft has a counterpart. They have a Loftwing that bonds with them. It basically exists because they exist.
Now,
but once they start coming down to the surface, or at least once a group of them started coming down, I mean that disrupts the whole.
Well, then let me.
It disrupts the whole thing.
let me throw a wrench into that. That might help. So humans are now on the surface, and they don't need the Loftwings. The Loftwings slowly start to become more accustomed to the Sky Islands because they don't want to try to mingle on the surface. These Loftwings feel more in tune with the thinner air and the more cooler atmosphere of the sky. We could probably agree on that.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The first 20 minutes of a Tears of the Kingdom run? Oh yeah, you know exactly where I'm going with this. So we have, like, let's say 20 to 30 years of communications with the humans on the surface and the humans in the sky. But because these humans like Link and Zelda, Groose, and so on and so forth now live on the surface, and their Loftwings aren't really keen on being on the surface, they only come when they're being whistled upon from the sky down to the surface, and so on and so forth, unless Link teaches everybody how to get launched to the sky with a bird statue. I could see that happening, to be honest. I really can. A lot of people in 20 years would grow older and their bones wouldn't work like me, or they grow fatter like me, or it's one of those things like a bird wouldn't be able to support someone like that. Imagine like Groose, now 3 times the size of Headmaster Gapora. Like, there's no way his slicked back blue bird would ever fucking make him go back up there. Or is he yellow? I don't know. But what I'm getting at is, at that point, yeah, the sky, the humans, now Hylians of the surface, have grown, and their Loftwings have become fatter in correspondent to the Hylian humans, and in that same retrospect, probably a little more shaggier. And we have these weird, like, ostrich things in Sky Islands and Tears of the Kingdom, don't we?
Yes, we do. And we have lore in the Zelda notes, in the Zelda memories, that talks about Sonia basically starting a breeding program to save the species from extinction because they were literally dying out.
Oh my god. So, let me just get there, because I haven't even done the Tears of the Kingdom notes yet. I literally got done with another Breath of the Wild save recently for this theory, and for the notes and everything, for Zelda notes, I haven't even touched Tears of the Kingdom notes yet, but bro, what?
I have. It's great.
Okay, so this is so nuts, because what I was gonna ask is, like, through that, they would lose connection with the people of the sky. And the people of the sky would lose connection with the people on the surface unless they somehow have communications going via the Gossip Stones and the Bargainer statues. So let's say,
or the Dominion Rod, but that's a whole other story.
Right. But we might actually be able to wrap that in together all in one. So when it comes to, like, the Dominion Rod, the messenger of the gods, and somehow reestablishing a connection with these sky beings now becoming Zonai, let's put in this scenario. Time has passed. Settlements are on the surface. And one fateful day, the clouds part, and these 9-foot beings of green scales and fur and a third eye in the middle of their forehead named Zonai appear from above the humans and say, "We are the people of old. We are your ancestors, closer than you will ever think and know." And as they appear, the humans in Sheikah who have lost connection with their ancestors are like, they're gods. It's almost like the Bargainer statues have come to life. And some people would probably even be like, this is a blessing from Hylia. The Sheikah would obviously be like, these are the people we need to protect. Not these humans on the surface, but these Zonai that just appeared because they obviously have some connection to both of our gods and these humans on the surface. And because we're like the people of shadow and time, we have the records to back this up. And because of these robots that we made back in the day, we could probably work with them to improve them. So let's say through this scenario, the Zonai now appear. They talk, they converse, they mingle, they show their magics and their weaponry, and the Sheikah show their technology. In thus doing so, Robot Mark II. The Zonai robots.
Yes, the construct.
And the reason I bring this up is if you deadass look at any of those robots, any of the constructs, any of the conflux, you see a very similar design in every single one of them, don't you?
Yes.
It's the Sheikah eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like right there in the middle. So I have a feeling, let's say that the Zonai supplied the means of the green ore, like the knowledge of where to find it, and the Zonai are the ones that taught the Sheikah how to separate their spirits from their bodies. In thus doing so, as we said earlier, people can interpret that into different things. If you describe something to someone, they might draw something up that is completely different to your own description, but it's still the same thing based on the same connection given to both people. So if this is true, the Zonai could have taught the Sheikah how to separate their souls from their bodies. The Sheikah take that into, okay, we'll improve that. We'll self-mummify. And when the time comes, we will separate our souls from our bodies through these spirit orbs. While the Zonai and the people of old could separate their soul from their body, or take a already dead person's soul and use it as a portion of fuel. Not 100%, but like up to 50% of what makes the robot the robot. If this sounds confusing, I apologize.
No, it doesn't sound too confusing.
Here I have one of the Lanero Desert series robots, the Mark ones.
Yeah.
And we see the, the electrical blue current in between. If we take that instance with, like, Scorvo.
Old Scorvo.
You see in his eye?
It's blue.
Yep. It's almost like a bluish teal if you alter the color, but it's in the arm, it's in the sword, and it's in that Lanero Desert or Mark I robot. So if we say that, hypothetically, that the Zonai robots are the Mark IIs, it looks like this because there's a difference between an architect and the person who actually crafts something. Like my brother, he's a architect for a cabinet company, but he's not the one on the shop floor making the cabinets.
I see what you're saying.
So the Sheikah are the ones who first originally drafted up the robot concept, but the Zonai are the ones who helped make it. So the Zonai are the ones who taught the Sheikah about soul separating and soul transfer to inanimate objects, while the Sheikah are able to do any kind of heavy labor that the Zonai can't do, and vice versa. Out of respect, the Zonai make a Sheikah eye in the very middle of the robots they make.
Interesting concept. I could see that.
It's something that I wanted to bring up because when it comes to these robots, Sheikah made the first one, but the Zonai made the second one with Sheikah intervention, which then brings back this ancient past of the Zonai now descend upon the Earth. The Sheikah, the humans, and everybody else on the surface are like, whoa, these people are amazing. Can you help us fix up these robots? Yeah, we'll make them better. And they make these robots. Time passes as people finally learn about what happened in the ancient past. People learn about this magic, this soul separating, and then become greedy. Souls filled with avarice and malice. In comes the
What do greedy people do?
Yeah, interloper war, baby! But because of what we know with the interloper war being stopped and this and that, I still have some kind of say that maybe Minoru and Rauru were involved in stopping that war, but I don't have any proof on that yet. What I can say is that would have consequences before Age of Imprisonment. Because of this, the Sheikah, the humans, the Gerudo, the 2 Zonai that are alive, or maybe a small faction of them who are alive, because I have a feeling, just like you, that the Zonai maybe took the greatest toll of numbers in this war and turned into the Twilight, because where were the Zonai, literally after Skyward Sword, they were still in the sky, so they don't really know what was going on. Like, the people on the surface would obviously get to learn from Link and Zelda what was going on, like, right then and there, once they moved down there and be like, hey, this just happened, let's sit down and talk about it. But the people in the sky would probably not get that privilege.
Exactly. A lot of people, you think back to Skyward Sword, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, Gipora would know, because he's a secret keeper.
Yeah.
And he's Zelda's father. So he gets a lot of privileged information, and he was pretty integral to a lot of the things that were going on. Like, he knew Link was looking for the Triforce, he knew about Zelda, he knew about Fi, he knew about the Goddess Sword, all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pippet and like Kukil and the other residents of Skyloft had no freaking clue
Right.
what was going on. Not a single one of them knew. Groose found out quite a bit, but that's because he was involved with it, because he became involved with it.
Yeah.
Everyone else has no idea. They had no clue.
That is... Yeah. That, yeah. No, that's, that, yeah. So, the Zonai, a mass majority of them, who do not know literally what has been going on and what is going on, eventually find out about this sacred power and use, like, let's say maybe half of their military of people and just a small quarter being robots that were helped being made by the Sheikah, remaining being like the Mark 1s, but just a small handful being the new Mark 2s, the Zonai robots. In comes the Interloper War, and we know how that ends.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Now, knowing what happened with the Interloper War, the Sheikah, humans, possibly, free Gerudo, not under the reign of the twin Rova, Kume, Kotake, and now their surrogate son, Ganondorf Dragmar, inheritor to the throne, they find out about what happened and they learn. So they see it as a foretelling to come. Let's make something like, let's make a militarized army of battle tanks that run on a spiritual hive mind. Let's make these giant mechanical behemoths and these lookout towers and these... Let's overextend our tech to protect ourselves from one more scenario. And in this moment, a kingdom is birthed by a young Zonai king named Rauru, who finds a wife named Sonia. To further make sure this kingdom is protected, the underground depths is ruled by this young king's older sister, Minoru. But Minoru is not inherently the sole ruler of these depths, because she had to be introduced to these depths. You want to take a guess who that person could be?
I'm gonna hazard a guess and say a Sheikah.
Yes, it would be the Sheikah that is the architect, the designer of of literally the divine beasts themselves. So, we have Monk Maz Koshia. And to even further seal this deal, Monk Maz Koshia is stationed within the crust, between the surface and between the depths. His dojo, or sanctum, is a amalgamation of dark and light, which makes shadow. And it has like the 4 elements of that era. His home would literally be sandwiched between Raru's and Raru's and Minaru's.
Yes.
And now Minaru, who's like this descendant of these ancient Zonai, who learned about the spirit transfers and spirit detachments, is the only one left. Because Maz Koshia is both a monk and a warrior in the ways of Sheikah. He is the person in charge of all Sheikah that still remain. Either you are a monk that works on tech and prays to the goddess, or you're a warrior who is literally out in the field defending people. And that's where they come into somewhat of a class split again. The warriors now live on the surface to protect this young king and queen, Rauru and Sonia, while the wise monks and tech prowess artificers are underground with their leader, their elder, Monk Maz Koshia, who works in tandem and very closely with Minaru. Minaru, knowing the soul transfer, teaches it to the monks. Monk Maz Koshia drafts up the designs and the architecture and all this for the divine beasts and the guardians and so on and so forth. Minaru helps the monks make these guardians and giant behemoth beasts and the towers and all of this. And you could even possibly say, because the Sheikah know so much about time, they may have taught Sonia recall.
Interesting.
There is, I think I sent it to you. If I haven't, I will definitely play it or send it to you later on. Sonia's sound effect of recall. You know how you get the ting, 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 click?
Yes. Oh, I know what you're gonna... Yeah, you did send it to me before.
Isn't it how spooky the Gate of Time aligns with that?
And, you know, that makes sense, too, from the other standpoint as well. Whether she learned it from the Sheikah or not, Hylia, the goddess herself, created the Gates of Time. Whether she had help or not, it doesn't really matter. That is canon. She created the gates.
Yes. And
Sonia would be a descendant,
right,
a direct descendant of Zelda, who was Hylia reincarnated.
Right. And now with the Sheikah as well, let's say with the tattooed Eye of Foresight on their forehead, during the time of Hylia all the way up to Skyward Sword, we could presumably believe that only the elder, only the lead Sheikah of the tribe is allowed to do that, because they're the only one that is the right hand of Hylia. But, like, you know, in respect of the Sheikah elder always being the handmaiden / right hand of Zelda.
Like Impa.
Yeah. And
the way Impa is usually her wet nurse or her nursemaid and usually assists her in
bingo,
her adventures. Yeah.
And now, after this great union of Minaru, the eldest of the Zonai, and she works closely with the elder of all Sheikah, Monk Maz Koshia. Because Monk Maz Koshia, who has a tattooed Eye of Wisdom on his forehead, is working with literally one of Hylia's chosen people directly, who has a third eye in the middle of her forehead and a little bit of fur underneath that looks like a teardrop, he could literally say, as the elder of the Sheikah, "Everybody that has worked with Minaru, you now shall have the Eye of Wisdom forevermore on your forehead from here on out." And so each of those Sheikah monks get that tattoo.
Get the tattoo, yeah, because they all have a white eye tattoo on their forehead.
Exactly.
That's right.
Now,
all of the monks do.
Now, because of this, we could probably assume that Minoru, Mazcotia, and the monks now have that connection of spirits and spirit transfer, spirit, extraction, and so on and so forth. If this sounds solid, we could even say that that's where we got our divine beasts from, not because they were warned about Ganondorf, but because they knew a great evil would come again. They already witnessed the Interloper War. They have yet to see the Imprisoning War, but they have the documents and they have the word of mouth from the goddess statues and the bargainer statues, two gods in tandem, saying the Demon King, our third brother, is going to come back in a reincarnated form. So you guys have to make something that's going to stop him. In come Mark III robots, Guardians, Sheikah Tech, the Blue Flame, the Divine Beasts, and so on.
Interesting. I can definitely see the evolution, so to speak, of the technology.
Right. And
so that's yeah.
And now we go into this game. Zelda from the future has now appeared in the ancient past, the first half of the loop. She appears, they say, we're going to get you home. How do you speed up the designs and also the functionality of these projects of the ancient Sheikah? I don't know. Isn't Memory 3 when Zelda and Rauru first meet Minoru and she's like, the Purapad, this is interesting, can I borrow this for a while? And she borrows it through the entire memory sequence to the very end.
Yes, that's true. I was just gonna say that. So Minoru is holding the Purapad in her hands and she's like, this certainly isn't from this era.
Age of Calamity
right?
come to mind?
And then she's like, is it alright if I borrow this for a while? I'd like to tinker with it.
Exactly. It's kind of like how Purr and Robbie are like, hey, this little egg came and gave us this Sheikah Slate. A Sheikah Slate? And then all of us fans are like, wait, a Sheikah Slate? You're confirming there were more than one in that time frame? Yeah. And then you sit here like, okay, wait, so how could you expedite the robots other than the bargainers and this mass group working together of monks and one Zonai elder? How could this Zonai herself be able to speed up this progression other than her spirit transfer? I don't know, she was holding on to the Purapad. Oh my god, the Sheikah Tech exists because of the Purapad. It's literally like...
It's a bootstrap paradox, yeah.
Yep.
It's classic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic bootstrap.
It's like they already had the beginning works and designs being worked on, but they had to expedite it, and then they tap into the Purapad, be like, we can make something called the Sheikah Slate that looks like this, and then the Purapad's made out of a design that looks like the Sheikah Slate. It never ends.
Yes. And in that too, the Purapad is a new piece of technology from Zelda's present.
Yep.
It was built by Purah and Robbie.
Yep.
Because the other Sheikah tech had vanished. It broke down, it disappeared, it was gone.
Yep.
So they had to build new pieces using the knowledge, because they were researchers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had the knowledge of the tech because they'd been working on it for the last just over 100 years. So they were able to build a new device. They were able to build and sort of scrap together the Skyview towers and some of the other things in the present. And then it comes into the past more than 10,000 years. And gets into the hands of Minoru.
That's exactly, and that's the nuts part, because then you think, okay, well, let's say the Purapad was literally the thing that sped up the production of these Guardians, Divine Beasts, and so on and so forth. Is there anything on the tapestry that could link up to that? No pun intended. Yeah. Right here in the top right corner where they're working on a slate, and they're tapped into some kind of stone, and for the longest of times I thought, okay, it's a time shift stone that they're tapping into. No, that could be Zonite. And the Zonite that they're tapping into could be being funneled into the Purapad, and these Sheikah monks, with the help of the Zonai, are making the first Sheikah slate.
Based on the design of the Purapad.
Yep. Through all of this, we now have a robot army, we have 4 divine beasts, we have a princess with her sealing power. I'm not even mentioning how Age of Imprisonment already showed us, like, yeah, the 4 sages are going to be there, and you're going to see how they get their masks. Oh, cool, the masks that look just like the divine beasts? You're telling me these masks that look just like the divine beasts? And then it makes me think, okay, well, how did the current champions pilot them? Spiritual power, as they wanted to say. Okay.
Yeah.
How would these ancient ones do it? I don't think it would be the same kind of spiritual power, because if it's a Mark 1 with the sages themselves, they'd have some assistance like a mask.
Interesting. Okay. I could see where you're going with that.
And we tap into secret stones.
Yes.
And not only that, let's say these secret stones have to come from somewhere, right?
Where they come from?
What if these secret stones is the root cause for the Interloper War? And the reason I bring this up, in this time of settlement, in this time of the Zonai appearing in the ancient past, and the great prophecy is already being foretold, but nobody's believing it, nobody's making any tech, nothing, but people are just sitting there and talking. The Bargainer statues are talked to by the Zonai directly. In thus doing so, the Bargainers are like, oh yes, we can directly talk to our sister and your creator. Here, 7 sacred, or at the time of saying this, in this ancient past, 10 sacred stones.
I know where you're going with that one.
You know exactly where I'm going. In thus doing so, we have so many people being like, oh, well, we've heard tales of the goddess Hylia holding the Triforce in this sacred realm. Maybe these Bargainers' gifts could be manipulated to open up some kind of rift. Or maybe we can use them to amplify our power and this dark magic technique we're making with these fused shadows from these fallen Sheikah humans and so on and so forth. In thus doing, you have these 7 Bargainers giving 10 secret stones. A great envy and great greed has arisen. We have the Interloper War, as stated before. In thus doing so, you have 3 dragon priests, one of fire, one of electricity, and one of ice/water, who swallow their stones. In thus doing so, lose their garb, lose their, their priest attire, and become the immortal dragons. But that's what happens to their body. What happens to their souls? They become the light spirits.
What do the light spirits do?
The light spirits drive back the interlopers into their prison within the Mirror of Twilight, becoming the Twilight. It becomes strange because then you're sitting here like, isn't there 4 light spirits? Yes, but the goddesses only asked that 3 of them help with. Then what about Ordona? Well, it almost seems like a Sage of Light was a 4th member helping those 3 light spirits. A Zonai? Yes. Raru.
Interesting. Yeah, because, the light spirits are spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, point blank, they are spirits. So, they don't have a physical form. And it doesn't really matter what they choose to look like. So, their physical appearance before they became spirits could literally be anything.
Exactly. In thus doing so, we have a dragon priest of fire, a dragon priest of ice, and a dragon priest of electricity whose physical forms become these dragons, but their spirits become these light spirits, working in tandem to banish the interlopers. The dragons go into hiding, and so do the light spirits. We now have 7 sacred stones left. One of them is held on by Rauru, the light stone. One of them is gifted to his wife, the time stone. One of them is gifted to his sister, the spirit stone. And the other 4 are put into hiding. Through the passage of time, as we stated before, we have this prophecy of what's going to come. They're making the Sheikah tech. Zelda shows up. We have the Purapad now being the inspiration for the Sheikah slate, speeding up all of the tech. We have the memories of Tears of the Kingdom, and in most of these memories, like Minaru's not there, which means the Purapad is with Minaru in most of these memories, until she gives it back. And while doing this in the background with Minaru, Monk Maz, Koshia, and so on and so forth, they're making this tech. We know that Ganondorf launches an attack, kills Sonya, takes her stone, and corrupts it.
Yep.
And we already know Zelda is holding on to Rauru's stone. So we're seeing Rauru's stone existing twice at the same time.
Yep. From 2 different points in its time stream.
Yes. And what's funny about that is we get all the way up to the Great Sealing. Rauru gives up his life. Ganondorf is now sealed, but his physical form. The reason why this is important is the sages would walk off shrugging it, being like, okay, well, we gotta wait to stop him again because we don't think we're done with him. Zelda being like, what do I do? What do I do? At this same moment, this ancient hero aspect construct, or ancient hero construct aspect, or Akka, as I called him, Akka wakes up. Akka constructs himself, and I have reason to believe that is literally the immortal spirit of the hero. The immortal spirit of the hero, in my eyes, was always this spiritual force that would not possess a body, but would fuse with any body that would fit the description of a hero that era would need in that time standing. So if that era was facing a great evil and needed one individual, male, female, no matter who they are, to stand in the way of tyranny and face everything, that immortal spirit of the hero would connect itself to that person. That spirit, though, is Sky.
Interesting.
Like, Sky's long dead, but he made a spiritual pact with Fi. And if he made that spiritual pact with Fi, it's even backed up with her saying, "You are my master until we meet again." What I'm bringing up is, Sky died, but his spirit lived on to be that immortal spirit. He would fuse with any... Oh, no worries, my guy. That's my oops, I didn't realize it until too late. Should probably drink some water real quick. Oh. All right. So, Sky, hero of the sky, is the master Fi, because she says, "Until we meet again, my master," you know, so on and so forth. It's a spiritual connection. And with him being the one that brought the Triforce into being, because it was hidden within him, to my understanding with what you told me in the past, if he is that powerful and spiritually connected, and he made a pact with a living sword spirit, I have reason to believe that the undying spirit of the hero, that force in particular, that spiritual force, is the hero of Sky's spirit. If this is true, then Sky is literally the guy who fuses with every single hero, no matter who they are, from here on out, whenever their era needs them. And in thus doing so, if you are marked as a quote-unquote hero of an era, and you are infused with Sky's soul, you're eligible to pull the Master Sword. Because Sky is the one to take the Master Sword from Goddess to full force. And we have not seen the Master Sword at that full power since then.
And Fi recognizes
Exactly.
Master Link, Sky,
Yes.
as her master.
So say that the Demon King Reborn is now sealed, but he's not killed, and everybody just shrugs it off because Raru's dead and they now need to make a new monarchy of Hylians that's appointed by Zelda before she tries to figure out how to get back home, before the Master Sword shows up. Hold on, stop. Before Memory 15, which is the broken Master Sword of the future showing up. We don't know how much time has actually passed between Raru's death and sealing to then. We don't.
No, we don't. It could be a couple of days, it could be weeks.
And in that same retrospect, in between the memories, we don't know how much time has passed. Some of them we can guess, but some of them we don't know 100%. So let's say they walk away, and at that same time of Raru's eyes dark, a hero construct now rebuilds itself within the Shrine of Awakening. I have a feeling that the Shrine of Awakening, if it's not connected to the Shrine of Resurrection tunnel to the Spring of Revival, I have a feeling it's probably our mystery structure. I have to pull that up here real quick.
Oh, the one next to the castle.
Yes, the
Is that
one.
what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, the one between the castle and the Temple of Time. I have it here somewhere over here. Oh, that's the wrong goddamn tab. Here we go. Over the rainbow. So from the trailer, we have this, and I know I shared it to you and Zoe and Dan, and I color-coded it. So we got green being Raru's castle, this big complex. We've got the blue being the Temple of Time with that dip that goes outwards. This orange is the memory of the Moldugar attacking. Da-da-da-da-da, that one. And the reason why
what we can call the Hyrule garrison, because it's where all of the guards were
in that time,
and protecting
on Mount Hylia, yeah. And
yeah,
the reason why I made this is because I did Path of Light, and I was like, that's weird. One of the Sheikah DLC shrines is literally across from Raru's castle, like across the water, overlooking the castle, and it's called Shrine of Light. And it's Sheikah run. But then you have this mystery structure right there.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, what if that is the Shrine of Awakening, and then right under here, like underneath this staircase area, I wouldn't say underneath this staircase, but like just south of it, under this ridge, you see where my hand is on the screen?
Yeah, because the Shrine of Resurrection is under there.
Exactly. So you'd have Spring of Revival directly underneath. You got some kind of connection of Zonai and Sheikah 100%. But to even sweeten this deal, Raru's dead, all of this stuff, Ancient Hero wakes up, possessed by the spirit of Sky. At that moment, he's like, something's not right. I gotta go find her. And he goes and finds the fully constructed Master Sword that he put away.
Ooh.
Because he's the one that put it into the sealed temple, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it'll have been long enough that
mm-hmm.
the sealed temple doesn't really exist the way it used to anymore.
Exactly, and since we don't really see Raru's castle much in these memories, who knows? Raru may have been holding on to that sword without even knowing what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been like not a glorified paperweight, but like something that's just kind of there and passed down that they don't know the history of.
Oh, thank God,
So
Master Link, you have come to get me again. This guy named Raru has been using me as a paperweight for at least 30 years. But I could see that as well, yeah, like, the Hero of Sky, or the immortal spirit of the hero, that force in particular, takes control of Akka. He pulls the fully made Master Sword from Skyward because the broken one from the future is yet to show up yet. He pulls it knowing very well we're not done yet. Minoru is alive, but very, very much wounded. Before she passes, she has to give what she knows to Mazkoshia, and Mazkoshia gives her the Sheikah Slate. He directs all of the monks to find Akka and get the beast to the sages.
Okay.
The reason is everybody's now in position because the air grows very still, the sky goes from a bright yellow to a dark reddish black, and the earth begins to tremble. You now pan over to Ganondorf's corpse underground with Raru's corpse still holding him on. But Ganondorf's not dead. He's just sealed. But the malice has been leaking out. And I feel like for the first incursion of the Calamity, it wouldn't take 10,000 years. I feel like with knowing how Ganondorf is mentally, physically, and in all aspects from A to Z, he wouldn't wait 10,000 years for that first attack. He'd wait maybe 24 hours, 48 hours for everyone to catch their breath, and then be like, surprise, look at what I got now. Because he already controls the moon at that point, too.
Yeah.
So if he controls the moon, he could technically make his first Calamity form, which brings me full circle back to our original point. Age of Imprisonment very well could show between Memories 14, Ganondorf sealing Raru's death, and Memories 15, the Master Sword of the Future showing up. The Tapestry could be between those two.
Potentially, I could see the potential for sure. Like story-wise, it's like there's a lot of things that would be like a lot of points that make more sense being A plus B equals C instead of just like a coincidence. There's only one thing that I can see being a potential issue. And it's the castle.
Raru's castle?
No. The one on the tapestry is the one they built over the imprisoning chamber. You can see it on the top of the tapestry there. So either that's just its freshly built form, and they built it like immediately after the imprisoning war.
That, you know what?
Or
no, I'm not gonna lie, you're on the nose, because there's that slab in that was
that what does the slab say?
That,
I actually have a quote. I have the quote. I can bring it up right now.
Send it.
So this is the royal ancient, the royal passageway. Royal hidden passageway. Tears of the kingdom. Okay, so deep beneath this land, our mighty first ruler imprisoned the demon king. To ensure the king's magic would hold, we erected a castle to protect this sacred site. Without the castle in place, the site may be disturbed, allowing the Demon King's hatred and rage to be revived. The preservation of this castle is therefore tied to the prosperity of the kingdom. May it watch over an eternal peace.
I know how we can actually make this work, and how it's involved with the tapestry and everything we've talked about so far. Minoru knows the Sheikah. Zelda's from the future and is of Hylian descent and of the royal bloodline. Before Ganondorf makes this calamity happen, this very first one in which the tapestry is depicted, we could very well see Zelda ask, like, the Sheikah, did you find anything in that perpet? Yes, we did. And those pillars around the area where you sealed him underground, we are currently constructing that. Okay, cool. How fast can you start on making a castle on top of that? Not too far along. We could probably get that done soon. And realistically, I'm thinking that could work. The Sheikah making that tech is supposed to assist with his sealing at that point, because those pillars around the castle. But Zelda, being the future, ruler of said kingdom, could be helping the Sheikah and the humans and Hylians of the surface, like, we're going to put these Hylians in charge because they're eventually going to make me. In thus doing so, after Zelda has helped with the events in the tapestry and the sealing, she turns into the immortal dragon. Everybody witnesses that. The tapestry is then made. But the what do you call it? The slabs underneath the castle in the Forgotten Foundation, those were being made like during Memory 15, which would be after the events in the tapestry, and literally, like, the ancient hero goes to rest again. He puts the fully restored Master Sword he pulled and put away, and then pulled again, and now put away again, so then the Hero of Time can pull it in the future. Zelda now has the broken Master Sword of her era show up, swallows her stone, becomes the immortal dragon. Everybody who witnesses this now makes the tapestry showing, hey, this is what happened in the ancient past, and this is what's going to happen in the future. And then you see at the bottom, the Sheikah running away from Hylian knights. That's because those are the corrupted Sheikah warriors of the surface that served Rauru. They become the Yiga. All of the other Sheikahs are monks, and they were safe within their shrines.
Okay. Yeah. So, for the time frame for that, then it could be. If they have technology assisting them, it's probably not nearly as much as I'd think. But there could potentially be like a year or two there, where they build the purification unit, they build the castle, they finish and finalize the designs of the beasts. They have the guardians, and then they just wait. They're just like, we know he's coming.
Yeah.
We know he's coming, and now we're ready.
I feel like mainly with the tapestry, this middle part. So it'd be underneath the bars, underneath the castle, the bars, and above these bars, towers, and bars. So just the battle portion, and not the description of what led up to this. I feel like that part would have been made first, and that's literally what I'm saying is Age of Imprisonment. But when Zelda has now disappeared because she's the light dragon, you get these additional pieces added on to the top and bottom, like the header and footer, because that's not only what led up to it and supported it, but that's also what happened as an after effect. So, like, the castle could have been that last piece painted onto the tapestry. Because of all of the pieces, the castle almost looks like its paint is brand new, just like the towers.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that says that it was all made at once.
Right.
It could have been made in layers or in stages.
Right, and the same thing with the underground slabs in the Forgotten Foundation. Like, when it came to the one of the Zonai descending, the Zonai sharing their wisdom, all of that could have already existed even during the time of imprisonment. But the ones that showed, like, Ganondorf turning into the Demon King or killing Sonya or so on and so forth, I feel like would have only happened after he was sealed, and more than likely after what happens here in the tapestry. So, like, during the time of documentation, which is the Star Islands, the every single ancient book, ancient slab, the ring ruins, the notes from the oh god, what's the name? Not the advisor, but the right hand that was in Chamberlain, yes.
Like Chamberlain.
All of these notes and all of these things were heavily documented once Zelda disappeared, once the kingdom was now under a Hylian rule. The Hylians would now see a judgmental eye to the Sheikah because of how the Yiga are the same people as the Sheikah, but fallers. They would be like, you guys can still serve us, but you're gonna have to live not within Castletown. You gotta live here to the east. We could do that. All right, go on. And give it a couple of 100 years, maybe a couple of 1,000 years, and then the hero of men helps out the Minish. But that would...
Gotta love the Picori.
But that's where I'm getting at. Like, I know I've probably gnawed off your ear for the betterment of almost an hour and a half, which, again, this is probably going to be its own standalone thing, too, as well as part of the theory. But what I wanted to essentially ask you is, could all of this actually be possible?
Possible? Yes. I would say it is quite possible. Because at the end of the day, we only have bits and pieces of these stories. We only see bits and pieces of these stories. And we know for a fact that Ganon, the Calamity, is the actual manifestation of the imprisoned Demon King Ganondorf's hatred and malice. So we know that he had to be imprisoned, he had to be sealed, and then Calamity shows up sometime after. We don't know what the time frame for that is. It could be a year or two, it could be 10,000 years, it could be 10 years, you know, there's no guarantee, there's no specific time given. All we know is that it's been 10,000 years, give or take,
since the last one documented.
Since the documented one on the tapestry, and the events prior to Breath of the Wild.
Right, and that's just the key part. Is like, if you look at it, it's almost like how time got rewritten in Skyward, technically, because of Link, Zelda, Groose going into the past and stopping Demise. Their present they came from no longer exists because of them altering the events of the past. If we go based on the same kind of mindset, that's how time stays established again. Because of the Demon King Reborn, Ganondorf Dragmire being alive but sealed underground, and Zelda being alive but above the kingdom, hidden within the clouds, it's almost like time itself was self-contained from the inside out, you know?
That it was bookended.
Yeah,
there was something kind of holding it all together.
Yeah. I think, I think it's very possible we could be seeing, because it's a theory, it's a hypothetical, it's a creative what if. It's not set in stone of I believe this is what's gonna happen, but it's a what if this is possible and what if this is what we're gonna see. That's a theory, and that's what we've presented. there are little bits and pieces of things that we do hardcore believe that could lead up to this, but time will only tell. And that's what I wanted to bring up to you. It's the connection of not just the ancient era before Skyward Sword and the ancient era after, which is Interloper imprisoning and then Minish Cap afterwards, like so far after that. It's like this big chunk is something that I like to look on a lot and like to think about a lot, because this is Hyrule's bread and butter. Everything that happens in 3 timeline splits have to revolve around have to revolve around what happens here, because something that happens in one timeline may have actually happened in another one behind the scenes, but at that same retrospect, how can we believe that? Because it was always going to happen. For instance, the split is self-contained within the loop, is what I like to describe it, you know?
Yeah. An example, like a visualization you can think of, would be if the timeline split, say you have a pool of water, and the timeline splits as you're halfway across the pool. Okay?
Yes.
It's just like visually, like you imagine it, just depending on what you do as you reach the middle point of the lake or the pond, you're gonna have these different scenarios unfold.
I got it here.
But you threw a rock into the water and created a ripple effect before you hit the middle of the lake.
Exactly.
Those ripples are still going to affect every other scenario because they already exist.
Yes, it's like what I have here is based on what you've talked about with me, what we've all talked about together with Zoey and Dan in our circles, and just years of just compiling notes. I've shared this to you as well. Think of it like the capital letter of the Greek alphabet, Phi itself, just like the Master Sword. In that same retrospect, you could also see that the Master Sword travels the way of Phi. The Sword of Time itself has a rippling effect of time. Which is nuts, because then you sit here and you're like, so the 2 Master Sword theory was correct.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the same sword. It's a singular sword, but you're seeing it from 2 different points in its own time stream.
Yep.
In the same moment.
Just like Raru's secret stone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like Zelda as the light dragon. I mean, the light dragon was up there the whole time.
Yeah, and
which means by the end of her time stream, before you reach the present, she's up there while her younger self is on the surface.
Yes.
You know,
and
struggling awakening her sealing powers, and holding back Ganon for 100 years, and then going underground with Link.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, and that's the other part I wanted to bring back to, is like, how would, Zelda know, as the light dragon, to start descending into view? How would she know when to do that? That's when her, Hylian self vanished into the past, before the Master Sword vanished into the past. But what is the significance of her doing that? It's when Link sends the Master Sword into the past to her. Because of doing that, Zelda, as the light dragon witnessing everything, already knows, okay, well, that's step 1. I've fallen into the past, so I gotta wait till this thing in my forehead says, you need to start going downwards. Because the Sword of Time is connected through all of that. As Sheik once says, upstream, downstream, the Master Sword is a ship in which you can traverse time's river's flow. And in thus doing so, the Master Sword will be able to tell Zelda, hey, Mom reincarnated, I'm now back to the moment that you picked me up, so we can start going down. And it would be that thing of, well, how would Fee have that connection then? it's that connection to the immortal spirit of the hero that is not only fused with Link, the hero of the Wild and Tears, but the same spirit that has been infused with every single hero after Sky.
Okay.
You got the connection with the
Absolutely.
spirits, you got that connection with the Zonai, the Sheikah, all of that. It took us an hour and 35 minutes to actually be like, holy crap, this theory might make sense.
Might just make sense.
So, I know I've gnawed your ear off for a while, and I just got your message. You got anything you want to put in before we head out for now?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for including me in this and for having a very awesome conversation with a lot of good points. I also want to give a shout out to, well, basically the rest of the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, keep an open mind. Keep your mind's eye open and just keep looking at what's presented. Like, if you try going in with preconceived notions, like, it's one thing to have an idea or a theory and, you know, be fun and be loose and limber about it, but if you are very strict in what you expect
Yeah.
or what you're looking for, and you find information or something comes up that's like counter to that or appears to be counter to that, you know, it doesn't mean that it's bad.
Right.
It doesn't mean that there's an issue. The lore isn't broken.
No, it's
you know, it's an evolving tapestry of various games and creators. Because, I mean, you think about the whole series from its inception, Miyamoto and the team that worked on the first Zelda game, not all of them are still part of the team today.
right.
There have been multiple times in the series history where different creators, different artists, script writers and whatnot have either and new ones have replaced them. Aonuma was like the bread and butter for a long time, and now Fujibayashi is taking up a lot of the helm now.
Yep.
So, like, the story is always changing and evolving in a very natural way. And, you know, I find that refreshing. I find it interesting, and trying to piece it together is part of the fun.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that you're going to be right. It doesn't mean that if you're not right that, you know, it's bad or it's terrible. That's just, it's part of the process.
Exactly. It's just like Hyrule itself. Not every single person and aspect of Hyrule is perfect, and not every single person and aspect of Hyrule's history is perfect. But what makes Hyrule and the Legend of Zelda truly legendary is just the existence of everything within it. And it's supported by people like you and I and our friends Zoey and Dan and Gabe and so on and so forth, who carry on these stories and bring up these theories, these what ifs and so on, that literally keep this series going.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
The fans are as much a part of it as the games themselves.
100%. And that's why next year we're celebrating the big 4-0.
Ooh, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, LH, thank you very much for joining me. I will obviously let you know when this is up and running, but it's been a blast, my guy.
Yeah. Same to you, Ulf.
Oh, yeah. All right,
All right.
Well, you want to put anything, like any links or anything before we go so that people know where to get you?
I'll hit you up with them. I'll send them to you, and we can post them in the description. They'll be down below.
All right, bet. All right, guys. Well, thank you. I've been Oaf, and that's been the one and only Laurelian historian, LH. You guys been rad, and I will catch you another time.
Peace.